C programming is a combination of statements. Statements are of various types. An expression statement, a repetition statement, control execution and selection statements and special control statements are the types of statements used by C language. In previous chapter, we have seen examples of expression statements which are used to assign values to the variables and are used to make a call to function. This chapter will explain you repetition statements. In our day-to-day life, we use machines to do the repetitive tasks. For example, we set alarm clock once and it rings every morning automatically. This makes our life easier and we can spare time for our main daily activities. Similarly, in C language we use repetitive statements. If I ask you to write a simple program to calculate 6 to the power of 5, then your program without the usage of repetitive statements may look like as shown on your screen. Look at the C program's source code. It is very lengthy code. See the next screen to see how repetition statements can reduce the program size. The modified code is highlighted by a blue color. We have used a for statement to simplify our task of calculation. For is used to create a loop. The loop will run for a certain number of times as specified in the for statement. For statement has 3 sections inside the round bracket. These sections are separated by a semicolon. Variable I is used inside the for statement as a counter, which defines the for loop's execution. Here in the first section inside the round bracket, we have assigned value 0 to variable I. This section inside the for loop is reserved to assign value to the counter variable. You can use any value to initiate a counter based on your requirements. The second section defines the maximum limit of the counter variable. This way an execution cycle of the for loop is defined. Here we have specified I variable to remain below 6. Thus the loop will execute while the value of I is less than 6. As we have started the execution of for loop with base value of I is 0 and ending it with value equal 5, thus the loop will execute for 6 times. The third section in for loop declaration is used to increment or decrement the values of counter variable, that is variable I in our case. For every execution of the loop, I will get incremented by 1. This is denoted by sign ++. The sign ++ is a shortcut to writing I equal I plus 1. You can also use - sign to decrement the variable, but do not use it in this program as it is not suitable. As we have defined a for loop to execute 6 times, the calculation statement will also get executed 6 times. This statement will multiply number 5 for 6 times. Same thing can be done by other repetitive statements like while loop and do while loop. Let's move on to the next screen to see details of while and do while statements. Refer the source code. Changed source code is indicated by blue color. While loop is based on a condition. Read the code written inside the round bracket. You have to write condition statement inside the bracket. Here in this example, we have specified that the value of variable I should be less than 6. Remember, you have to initialize the value of I before program enters into the loop. We have initialized it as 0. Considering the initialization value in the condition statement of while loop, it is simple to say that the loop will run 6 times. The same program can be developed using a do while loop. Let's move to the next screen. This example demonstrates do while loop. The main difference between do while loop and other 2 loops we have seen earlier is do while loop guarantees at least 1 execution. This is because the condition for the looping statement is checked at the end. You have to write the condition for the loop inside the round brackets after while as shown above. Do while loop terminates when condition is not satisfied. In other words, when value of I no more remains less than 6, the loop terminates. Let's move on to the next screen to understand the application of the various loops and when to use which type of the loop. We have solved our problem statement of calculating 6 to the power of 5 using 3 different loops. But which loop is most suitable for us? For loops are generally used when you know the exact number of iterations. Here an example of a simple for loop. A while loop is basically a simple for loop with no initialization or update section. Do while loop are essentially the same as while loops except that you know they'll be executed at least once. Thus, use for loops for the repetitive task whose number of iterations are known before writing a source code. Use while loops for a task which asks user to enter the value for the number of iterations. For example, if we modify our program to calculate the nth power of 5 by asking value of n to the user, we should use while loop, as we can substitute the condition statement as I less than north. Do while loop are preferred when we want to execute the set of statements at least once and then check the condition statement. By now, it must be clear to you that for loop is the best choice to solve our problem.